I would like to first give honor and praise to the Holy One of Israel, Yahweh Kadosh Yisrael, to our beloved Father Ben-Ami HaMashiach, the Nisakim, the Sarim, Atarim, and all saints, both near and far. I greet you in love and in peace, and I welcome you to another segment of the Living Legends. Welcome. At this time, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Kepsiah, Bat Israel, Woman of Valor. And I would like to also introduce you to our beloved Imatikfa Eshe Ben-Ami HaMashiach, one of the pioneers of our community. Welcome, Imatikfa.
Thank you.
Imatikfa went to Liberia at age 22 with a 7-week-old baby and a 3-year-old son. From that time, she has become a midwife. She has become a colon hydrotherapist. She has become a divine healer in the community. She has been a mother, a friend, a counselor, and just all around loving and kind sister to so many of us. I would like to welcome you now and introduce you to Imatikfa Eshe Ben-Ami.
Shalom.
We also have with us Ataras Salula Eshet Yeshir. She's a kingdom product, one of our sacred seeds, born and raised here in the community. One of the first recommitted youth. She started out in the very first recommitted youth program that was taught by Abba Gadol. Our cameraman also was a part of that recommitted youth. She's been a aromatherapist at this time. She's an aromatherapist. She's into natural healing within the community. She's a divine healer. She teaches yoga. She works with Rama Elite. She's a mother of 2 children, a wife, and an all-around good sister. Very pleasant, beautiful spirit. Someone who we are so proud of. Ataras Salula, one of our very youngest of the Crown Sisterhood. Welcome.
Hello.
Okay. Your first question is, what caused you to decide to become a midwife and get into the health and well-being of the mothers and the babies that we were bringing into the world?
How I became a midwife was, Rofa Afra was at my house sewing, and Akot Yeshiva, she was the first sister that decided she was going to have her baby at home. She wasn't going to go to the hospital in Soroka because of the care we received and, things like that. She decided she was going to have her baby at home. Rofa Afra was at my house sewing, and they sent for her. So she says, "Come go with me." I went with her. And it was a false alarm. She was just having some, Braxton Hicks, false labor. And we went back and continued. We stayed with her for a while, and then, the contractions ceased. Then we went back to my house. A week later, she sent for us again, and it was real. So we delivered her baby, and I've had children, but I was the one that had to keep the baby for the first 12 hours. That was my watch, to take care of the baby for the first 12 hours. So we remained at her house. Some sisters were taking care of her, and I was taking care of the baby. And then we went home, and we would go to her house every day and take care of her. Take care of all of her needs, what was needed for her and the baby. After then, about a week later, another sister had a baby, but her baby was premature. So she wasn't breathing, and we sent for Ben-Ami, and he came and he gave the baby mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. And after that, we had to pay very close attention to this baby. We kept her in a like a bassinet, a small bassinet, kept her very warm. Her mother nursed her and everything. And everything came out very nice. So after that, all of the sisters decided they were not going to go to the hospital. We were going to deliver at home. So we were going from house to house initially, and then Rofa Afra decided, well, you all can use my house for the Beit Chaim. Beit Chaim means the house of life. She decided that her house could be available for the Beit Chaim, so the sisters would come there, and they would stay there for 2 weeks. And then the staff of sisters, Rofa Afra had a staff. It was 6 sisters, including the mother, which equaled up to 7. So we cared for the mother. She stayed in the Beit Chaim for 2 weeks. We cared for the mother and the baby, and then the sisterhood cared for her household, her children, her family, whatever was necessary and needed to be done, they did it. If she needed someone to cook, someone to wash, all of that was taken care of by the sisterhood. And initially, a lot of times the children were removed from the house. Sometimes the children would stay in other families while her mother was on her days. If she had a girl, she had 80 days of separation. If it was a boy, it was 40 days for separation. So that's how I got to be there, but just because she was at my house and said, come go with me.
Could you just give us a little info on why there's a difference in the number of days for the birth of a son and the birth of a daughter?
Well, because the female has to reproduce. The organs and everything, it takes longer for her organs to be in shape because she's going to reproduce also.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay, so the days is longer.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Another question that I wanted to ask you was a little history about mothers and the scheduling that they did during the time that the mothers were having children. I know that when I first came home, the sisters used to have a schedule that they kept, and this helped the babies be born on a schedule. Can you tell us a little about that?
Yes, the scheduling we had was the mothers would get up early in the morning, say about 7 o'clock. They would get up and go out for a walk. They would come in and they would drink liquids. They would drink their water, or if we had a juice that we had prepared, they would drink that. Then they had classes with the priest. The priest would give them classes. Also with the husband. They talk with the husband too, telling him the different things. Take your wife for a walk, buy her flowers, massage the belly, and talk to the baby. You know, they were given instructions like that. And the sisters had lunch together. And there's set bedtime. Everybody went to bed at a set time. And then it was different things that we didn't do. We didn't look at horror movies or violent movies because this would affect the child. So we had a pretty good schedule, and it was almost like a painless childbirth. If everything, they did their exercises and everything went very smooth in the deliveries.
Now I remember when the sisters were walking, they used to squat, like do squats or something.
Sometime when we had exercise classes sometime, but that came in motion much later, not in the beginning. We wasn't doing all that in the beginning.
All right. Did you train any sisters to become midwives during the season that you was a midwife?
Yes, toward I forget what year it was, but I did. I had 2 classes. I trained 6 in the first class, and it was 4 in the second class. Okay. So it was 10 all total.
If you were able to share information with the sisters today about mother health, even for sisters who have not had children, because mother health is important, period. We all participate in the making of the home and the family. What is some of the advice you would give the sisters to help maintain themselves and to help maintain the health of their children?
Well, to help the sisterhood and the children maintain good health, we have a diet. We have the High, Holy, and Sacred diet. If they follow that diet, taking supplements and eating properly, there's not a problem at all. And then we've had special diets just for babies, like if the babies weren't gaining weight, or we made up special diets for the babies, and it worked wonders for them. So just following the high, holy, and sacred diet is key. It's very key.
One of the first questions I wanted to ask you is, what prompted your decision to become a nurse?
My Ima studied to be a registered nurse. However, coming to the country and us not having citizenship and status, she was not able to practice here.
Another question I have for you is, now that you have seen the institutionalized methods of treating illness compared to our preventive and natural methods, what is our mark?
So I would say that, first of all, modern medicine versus holistic medicine, which we practice here in the kingdom, there is really no comparison, because modern medicine seeks to treat people's symptoms and administer medications, and with holistic medicine we seek first of all to prevent illness from happening. Secondly, if illness develops, we're seeking to heal the individual as a whole. And so for me, they're on two separate scales, and there's really no comparison of the two. There is really no healing in modern medicine. And so, I use the information that I have learned throughout the years just to give myself a point of reference. However, all of my solutions are always oriented in being able to treat an individual as a whole, and using all of the components and the constituents that we have been inherently given from the earth, from Yah, the intelligence, and the medicines from the earth.
Can you just kind of summarize for us a historical overview of prenatal care, mother care, and some of the landmarks of how we did things over the years in the kingdom?
Mm-hmm. I'll try. The first baby that was delivered within the community was actually in Liberia. One of the sisters was in labor, and the car broke down. We couldn't get her to the hospital. In the township, there was supposed to be a doctor. He was really a dresser. And he came and he almost fainted. So the sisters had to assist the sister in having the baby. And babies they're going to come when they get ready. You be there to assist them, but Yah has everything so perfect. It just, and that's how midwifery became my passion. Just after watching and working with the sisters, it was just amazing to see how Yah, controls and do things like that. And it just, overnight, I've delivered hundreds of babies. I can't recall all of them, but if there was a baby that I had to give artificial resuscitation to, that became my child. And I'm very close with those particular children. But when we first came here from Liberia, when we came to Israel from Liberia, we had medical and everything. And we went to the hospital. And it was just a terrible experience. I had a son there. It was in December. It was 10 women in the ward. And no privacy whatsoever. They had cats going through the hallways and in the rooms. And I was always told, you never have a cat around a baby. But cats was in the wards with the women. And when the doctors would come in to check you, they just pull the covers back and examine you. in front of everybody. It's 10 women in this ward now, and then there's a big open window where if somebody was outside, they could look in. And so I'm laying there in my bed, and I said, "Y'all, please don't let them do me like that." And sure enough, prayers be answered. Because when they got to my bed, they just looked at me and went past. I said, hallelujah for that. And so the sisters were complaining about the treatments and how they did and everything. And that's when a Code Yeshiva said, "I'm not going to that hospital. Y'all going to have to deliver my baby." And she was the first one. And after that, we continued. Now, if we had a situation, we would go to the hospital. And they got to know us in the hospital and respect us, because they knew the only time we would come to the hospital is if it was a problem. And they respected us. And then things that we would say, we didn't want the sisters to do this, we didn't want the sisters to do that. Eventually, they would step back and let us do what we wanted to do. Even with the doctors there, sometimes they would say, "Well, y'all do this at home, we're here with you, go ahead." You know, I've had doctors to say that. But it's been a wonderful, wonderful experience. Just every baby is different. Every birth is different. And I've had some wonderful sisters working with me that was really there. And I could look around and they would know what I was thinking. We just worked hand in hand like that. But midwifery, and then as years went on, and I was getting a little older and staying up late at night sometime, I said, okay, it's time to start a class. So I started the first class with 6 sisters, and it was wonderful. And then Rofa Aidalya went to Africa, and she came back. She said, "You got to teach me midwifery." I said, "I'm not going to teach one person." She said, "Y'all, but you're going to teach me. I'm going to get some people together." So it was a class of 4. And she was just so into it. She had that spirit that she really wanted to do this. So after she completed and graduated, one day I sent for her. I gave her my medical bag. Everything, all my classes, all my books that I compiled my own books. I went through books and made my own study guides. I gave everything to her. I said, "You've earned this," because she had that, you know, that real spirit to really do it. But over the years, different things took place. I, for one, when I was pregnant with my son in 1970, I had morning sickness. It was the first time I ever had morning sickness, but I had it the whole 9 months. And Ben-Ami wasn't here. He was going back and forth in the States. So when he came back, after I had the baby, he came back right before I had the baby. He started giving me different things to eat to build my system back up. He would make soy milk and give it to me in the mornings. He'd bring it to bed. Here's some soy milk. And then he did the same thing with the baby. And that's how the diet actually started. You know, he saw that I was malnutrition, and he started working on me. And then it evolved into, it went to the whole sisterhood, expecting the nursing mother certain things they needed, and certain things, if they had morning sickness, they wouldn't just be completely depleted. And then even with the babies, he would feed the baby different things to strengthen his bones and, you know, what have you. And Rofa Afra and I used to do the lunches. We would prepare the meals for the sister. Rofa Afra would do the breakfast, and I was doing the lunch. And they ate dinner at home. But it was certain type of meal that you could eat. You couldn't eat the fried foods. You know, you had these steamed vegetables. She incorporated the sesame seeds. Oh, we thought it was terrible. She would give us sesame seeds and a steamed carrot. But we had to get accustomed to the sesame seeds because they were bitter. But the results of them, we saw the results right away. So
What were some of the results?
I mean, the milk was much richer. The sisters were stronger. It was high in calcium and protein. And you could feel it. You could actually feel the difference. And then the milk, the nurse and mothers were much, the milk was so much better. And we hated them when we first got them, but we love them now. And it was just we were evolving, and you could see that Yah was guiding us and leading us, because something different would come up. And it was like he would be right there saying, do this. That Yah mind, it would come to you. And of course, we always prayed. And the priests were right outside the doors when the sisters had babies. They were there reading, because the first words that the babies heard was words from Yah. Those are things that give you the fortitude to just keep going. You got to do it for Yah. You got to do it for your people. And no matter what time it is, if they call you, you're going to go. So, and then the spirit of the sisters. We had a sisterhood. We have a sisterhood, a very strong sisterhood. You can ask the sister for anything, and she's gonna come through with it. And like Rofa Salula says, I started working with aromatherapy also. I would buy the tinctures and things like that and put them together. I would make tinctures. I made tinctures for midwifery. They were saying if someone was hemorrhaging, they needed, what's that? I forget the name, shepherd's purse. But to make shepherd's purse, it would have to sit for an hour. If someone was hemorrhaging, you couldn't wait no hour. So I started making tinctures. Just things would come to you to do. I would make tinctures, and all of the midwives or the assistants had to have shepherd's purse in their doctor's bag. So if somebody was hemorrhaging, we give them that shepherd's purse and it immediately work.
Imatifa, can you share a little with us about the cereal that you all used to put together for the babies to ground it up? I think it was oatmeal, almonds, carob. I remember these packets. Could you tell us a little about that?
Well, some of the babies wasn't gaining weight. And Ima Carlia, she's the one that came up with this. We ground oatmeal, wheat germ, sesame seeds, and made the cereal for the babies. What we would do though, like if you grind in rice to make rice cereal, you rinse it and pour the water off of it. We would wash the cereal and dry it so that we wouldn't have to pour anything off of it. They would get all the nutrients from the cereals. And the babies, they just went in leaps and bounds. They were so healthy and so active and, just everything. And also we had about 5 sets of twins one year. And they were saying because they had squash, it was from the squash from the farm. They used to say they were squash babies. But we had about 5 sets of twins one year, and that was amazing. And we even evolved to the point where we had a water birth. Rofa Salula, she was the one that did a water birth in the community. So we studied, we watched things, and we evolved. And we're still evolving.
I want you to just take your time and give us some information on where we are now with the different types of landmarks of healing that's been added into preventive medicine here in the kingdom that you've been involved in. I know you had a workshop recently. I attended it. It was excellent. So without getting too far into the workshops, but I want you to get more into the holistic healing, the methods, what's involved.
So the first thing is that our health and preventative health has evolved. Initially on our journey, we've incorporated, of course, physical exercise and nutritional aspect, and also prayer and meditation that has always been part of our journey in holistic health and prevention of disease. I would say that in the first between 35 and 40 years of the development of, the kingdom and holistic health, we put a lot of emphasis on I would call the physical plane, meaning keeping the body, our immune system up, and just making sure that all the bodily functions were intact. That being said, the mental aspect of the holistic. So when we talk about a whole, there are different components that make up that whole. And just as the physical aspect is very, very important, the mental aspect is equally, or even sometimes even more important. I'd like to always quote that there is no physical ailment without a mental ailment. And if we ever heard the term, as we speak, as we think, so shall we create and manifest, then it also goes hand in hand with that thought and concept that whatever this disease or ailment that we witness and experience on a physical plane, then it has roots on a mental, spiritual plane. We have been putting more energy into the aspect. First of all, I like to acknowledge the DSWC, which is Divine Social Wellness Committee, which is comprised of professionals from Israel and also from abroad. And the sole task and commitment of DSWC is to tend to the mental aspect of the saints and the people, the mental healing. But I also experienced a different aspect, and that was in mental health. And I was placed in this outpatient clinic, and I was able to witness people going from some very low places in their life and gradually being able to gain skill and insight about themselves and to ascend to better and higher places. And that too was a wow moment for me. And so the equation for me was midwifery or mental health. And it took me a minute until I zoned and focused into that mental health. But today, as of 6 years now for me, I've been solely dedicated, my whole career is dedicated to the mental aspect of health and well-being and healing of the saints in the greater Israeli community as a whole. And I find so much joy, fulfillment, and privilege to be in the space to allow people to grow and transcend whatever difficulties that they may have faced in the past, so that they can get to where they desire to be in the future.
What are some of the methods that you use to help bring them into a place where they can start coming out of the low points in their life and start ascending to higher mental levels?
So one of the first method is that I use is just being mindful in this present moment. What happened in the past don't matter, and what you desire to happen in the future doesn't matter. But being able to first just acknowledge where you are, and even if it's painful, even if it's not the space that you want to be in, but just being able to be there and be with yourself and connect with yourself. And I found that it has been very, very, very helpful. I like to use the term as mindfulness is like sitting up and watching the clouds go by, and you see the clouds, you witness them, but they keep going. And when you can use that same parable for your thoughts that may come, they come and go, and not hold on to a certain thought and reminisce around those thoughts, because most times mental distress comes from a thought playing in our minds over and over and over again. And so oftentimes when you're able to adopt that thought of just letting your thoughts come and letting them go, it has been very, very helpful for a lot of people. So, first of all, Ima Atara Zahira Eshanasi Garia is the co-founder of Rama Elite, and she was given the mandate by the Prince Chancellor and Asik Shaliach and Abba Gadol to be able to foster with the children the ability to be able to sit quietly and to be able to introspect. And so Ima Zahira has had seasons of working with individuals and families and the saints and groups, and Ramai has had times where it has had more action and less action, but it has been steady and consistent for at least about, I would say, between 25 and 30 years of existence. And Ramai Elite stands for the upper realm. And when we talk about upper realm, the consciousness and being able to connect with the Yah consciousness, and to be able to sit still and to be able to accept and allow that consciousness to enter you, because we are being quiet enough to listen. Beit Sefer Akbar, which is the Brotherhood School, we have entered a pilot that we started this past November, and it's continuing to run. And we take classes the 1st to the 6th grade, and we sit with them once a week, and we practice meditation and mindfulness and yoga. And what we have been able to see and accomplish with the students is amazing. There's a shout out to all the Ramai Elite team and the staff, and also the sisters who are doing a magnificent job there with the children. And we hope that we'll also be able to expand the Ramai Elite program into the high schools and to parents and families, because we all need to, at some point, to be able to sit down and introspect and connect with ourselves. A different aspect that we are now venturing out on is community healing talks. And community healing talks was born from the mind of myself and Women of Valor Rukama, knowing that we as individuals, as a people, as have an ancestry of trauma via the Atlantic slave, via the different biblical slave trades. We can hold on a cellular level different traumatic experiences, and knowing that until we get resolved to those things, we will continue to get results that we desire. We will not continue to get the results that we desire. For an example, we know that physical immortality, that has been the last 15-20 years, the offering, but the mind and the body are one. And if the body is a manifestation of the mind, and if the mind, the soul, the spirit has been troubled with things, situations that they have not been able to process properly and heal from, then the manifestation is going to be on the physical plane. And so community healing talks is just the first step that we have taken as a community, as the kingdom, to just create the space so that that we can start to just be with one another and foster the relationship and develop our own ability to empathetically listen to one another and heal with each other, so we can take that next leap into physical immortality.
We have Rofa Aidalia. Fantastic. She's the one I gave my doctor's bag to, by the way. But she helped a brother, talked the brother through delivering his wife's baby it was in Kenya. No, it was in South Africa. I'm sorry, it was in South Africa. She was there, he was there alone with his wife. The sister that was supposed to assist them was not able to get there. She did a video call, gave him instructions, and talked him through this delivery on a video call. Now that's evolution. In the kingdom of Yah, that's evolution. He's in South Africa and she's in Israel, and she talked him through that delivery. By himself, he was there alone with his wife.
So in closing, Abba has always said that we always have everything that we need. And in this coming season, moving forward, actually putting all of the pieces of the puzzle together, incorporating mental wellness with the aspects of the physical health and wellness that we have already mastered throughout the years, and also expounding on the health and well-being of the mothers and the children, the mothers being the seat and the womb that bring forth life. It's going to be the culmination and the connectedness of all of those components that is going to take us to the next level of the manifestation of our health and our well-being.
In closing, I would like to say, I thank Yah every day for my journey. I wouldn't change anything on this journey, because if I did, I wouldn't be here today. It's been a glorious journey, and I've accomplished so much, and I feel so grateful that Yah has given me this journey to carry on, to do what I do, and to help me to strengthen somebody else. So it's all praises to Yah, and hallelujah.
I pray that there was information given that you could take home with you to help make things better for yourselves and your family members. I pray that you understand now that health is holistic, that the mind has to be healthy, the body has to be healthy, the spirit and your emotions have to be healthy in order for us to go into the next level of immortality.